According to new court filings just dropped, prosecutors allege that two of the surviving roommates were trying to reach the victims. This is according to these text messages. Prosecutors leading the case against the accused killer, Bryan Kohberger, have asked the court to admit these exchanges, saying that they, quote, present a sense of impressions and excited utterances describing the real-time reactions as to what was happening. The surviving roommates are expected to testify at the upcoming murder trial in August. Now, Bryan Kohberger's defense team, who says he is innocent, trying to keep these out. Sounds like prosecutors are pushing back here on the idea that putting these text messages out there, will start there. They say they're not hearsay, as the defense team would allege. They also note, Xana, that the previous judge in this case in Moscow decided to allow some of these. And what the prosecution is really saying here, Xana, is that this creates a timeline.
Let me give you a better idea about hearsay. So say I'm testifying, right? And I'm on the stand and I'm saying, well, I had a conversation with Detective Liccardi, Ron, okay? And Ron said this. At that point, there's going to be an objection typically, if I'm on direct testimony for the prosecutor, there's going to be an objection by the defense attorney saying he's going to testify to hearsay. Now, it would be hearsay if there was nothing I had to document the conversation, right? If I didn't have exactly what Ron told me written down in an official police department document, okay, then they could make that argument that, you know, it's hearsay. Mm-hmm. If I have the backup of the document, they'll still make an argument that it's hearsay, but I have it written down exactly what was told to me. Right.
So when you hear that and you think about this timeline and these text messages that go from about 4:22 in the morning, describing someone wearing a ski mask, trying to get a hold of each other, how scared they are. And then the next really big question here, Xana, is this 911 call that comes several hours later.
We have to remember that hearsay is basically a statement that's given out of court that is brought into court to prove that it's true. It's normally not allowed. However, there are a number of exceptions. As the prosecution is alleging, this falls under excited utterance. Basically a statement that you say as something is happening. It's typically a statement that's uttered when there's a shocking or surprising event.
It's like a spontaneous utterance, right, Ed? We heard that.
That's the term we use, yes, spontaneous utterance.
Behind this exception is that you have not had time to formulate a story. Therefore, we can rely on the truthfulness of the statement. So when we look at these text messages, we see how close in proximity to time that what was happening in the house. We know that it was very close in time. They were clearly afraid in the text messages. So that's going to qualify for the type of event that spawns excited utterance. So when I'm looking at it, what I see is that this is likely to be admitted, maybe not all of it, but I do think a good portion of it will be admitted as the exception of an excited utterance to hearsay.
You know, there's also the speculation and the conversation in that that DM, right, Dylan Mortensen, said she was interviewed by 4 different detectives at 4 different times, and her story kept not changing, but she kept saying, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming. So there's an issue of reliability or believability as it pertains to a jury, but I don't think it's going to come into play. She's the only eyewitness potentially to testify that actually had eyes. Remember, she said she was frozen in the doorway. He walked past her. Then she watched him exit out the kitchen in that sliding glass door. Let's address the elephant in the room. The incident took place somewhere around 4:15-ish, between 4 and 4:30, right? The phone call to 911 after DM saw and communicated with Bethany that there was somebody in the house, something was not right, and then there was the text conversation, run down to my room, come, run. No call till 11:58 in the morning to 911. Okay, we opine that possibly they in fear just went to sleep in fear. There's so many possibilities to justify why that happened, but so many people are pissed about that. They're so mad that how dare they see this and then just go back to sleep. Drinking, partying, a party house. stuff like this, maybe they've seen stuff like this where random guys are just like, I passed out, or I was hanging out with her in her room, I was hanging out with this one or another girl that came into the house, we were in a room, and then, maybe it's commonplace that guys just kind of stumble out of there at 4 a.m, and maybe they just didn't think it.
This is the party house, right? So in this case, for the defense attorney to say that these text messages are hearsay, when the two victims that were texting are still alive and will be capable of testifying, is ridiculous.
Right.